Episode 16, Soccerheads New England, and we're going to call this one, Jim's Not Here Again. Welcome to another episode of Soccerheads New England. If you're a loyal listener, you're not going to believe it. Jim's not here. I'm Dave Rattigan, formerly an award-winning journalist, a person with a life, a person with a future, but not anymore. Now I'm the co-host of this soccer podcast with Paul Nardizzi and, in name only, Jim Ruberti. This week, Paul, Jim is out with COVID, a disease which didn't even exist in his world last week.
I feel like he's staying away because he's not healthy, but I feel like coming here is the only thing keeping him healthy.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, the camaraderie, the friendship,
the laughs. The camaraderie, the free water. Yeah.
He's sitting at home texting me that he's watching Man U play Villarreal. You know, I'm a soccer head.
Yeah.
You don't play teams from Spain on a Monday. I said, Jim, that's an old game. That was like months ago. He goes, really? I said, yeah, my son's a Man U fan. They're playing live right now on the other channel. Oh, thanks. He turns to chin.
He was railing to me about Joe Biden earlier, so I know he's feeling better because he's complaining about whatever I don't know. He was talking. I stopped listening. I
read in the Financial Times that if he misses one more episode, Rick Spencer is pulling up stakes. He's done sponsoring the vodka.
I got to tell you this: Rick knows Jim, and if Rick's not sick of Jim by now. Anyway, check us out at soccerheadsnewengland.com. We have a Facebook page, Soccerheads New England, or you can email us at soccerheadsnewengland@gmail.com, and that one's answered no by those emails will be answered by Jim Ruberti. So proof that he's alive.
Did he pick up the COVID here last week? Because I heard there were pathogens in the air, and you and I's immune system said, yeah, whatever.
That might be. I do have. We did, as you can see, we have. We've made contingency plans in Jim's place. We have a special guest, James Ruberti, Jim's twin brother.
Hey guys, it's great to be here.
Welcome, James.
James is. I know you're thinking that. I guess there was a little George Foreman situation in the Ruberti household. James Sr., who was Jim's father, apparently they had twins, and they weren't quite sure about Jim, so they thought, we'll name the other one James too.
Our birth was a troubling one.
Why was it troubling?
He tried to eat me in the womb. We don't hang out often because every time I see him, he tries to eat me again.
Oh, so you guys don't actually live together?
No, well, I live underneath his house.
Okay.
Apparently, James is really not that much like Jim. For example, James, you were telling me that you've got certain views that he doesn't share.
Well, yes, of course. My dear brother, my dear lovely brother. I'm very different from him. You see, I believe in a hard day's work.
Yeah, that's not like Jim.
A steady, healthy diet.
That's definitely not Jim.
And I love women.
I'm not going to touch that.
Yeah, no. How do you feel about soccer? Did you play soccer, James?
Yes, when I was younger, me and Jim would play soccer all the time. I was the goalie and he was the ball.
Was he good at that?
Excellent. Best ball I'd ever seen.
And did you play college?
I did, yes. I was famous for stopping 15 penalty kicks.
Wow. You stopped all 15?
All 15.
And, of course, Jim, as you know from Paul, you remember this, Jim 0 for 15 on penalty kicks in his career, and he quit because of a concussion. You didn't wind up with a concussion, did you, James?
Nope. Actually, every hit I took to the head just made my brain stronger.
Again, you two really are nothing alike.
Nothing.
Sadly, we look alike, so that's turned my life into a living hell.
That would be tough to take. James, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Let's get to the topics. We've got a couple. Good ones this hour. We're going to talk about the Revolution and a couple of acquisitions that they made. We're going to talk about a couple of interesting cases. One of the high school at the high school level here in Massachusetts, and another Christian Eriksen saga. And we're also going to talk about Paul and my interesting stand-up experiences with soccer fundraising. Is that Is that
Or is any sports event that we
okay? Any sports event. We're going to expand it out so I don't have to lie and say it was soccer. Good. Let's get to the plugs first. Soccerheads New England is sponsored by financial advisor Rick Spencer. Take this number down, 978-857-7573. Rick speaks at free seminars for soccer clubs, youth leagues, and the public. He'll help to get your kid into college, athlete or not. And Rick is also my financial advisor. And I can tell you this, he's so good, I put Grey Poupon on everything. To have Rick come speak to your club, team, league, or group, or to check out one of his free seminars in your area, call him at 978-857-7573. Also, if your organization needs to raise money and you want to have a great time doing it, you should hire the Soccerheads Experience. It's more than a comedy show. It's an event that your community will never forget. We'll raise you a lot of money. We'll have a lot of fun. We've got soccer-themed humor and stuff with your three favorite comedians, Paul Nardizzi, Dave Rattigan, and Jim Ruberti will actually show up. Email them. If you're interested, you want to find out more, soccerheadsnewengland@gmail.com. And now we're on to the topic of soccer. James, where are you going?
Well, I'm going to go check on my dear brother. I got to go give him the vaccine while he's asleep. Otherwise, he'd fight me.
I see. You're going to give him the vaccine as he's got the COVID.
Yep. I'm hoping one or two things happens. Either it cures him or it kills him.
All right. Excellent. Well, good. Thank you for joining us,
Great
James.
to meet you, James.
Anytime. Excellent meeting you boys.
He's excellent meeting us. He definitely isn't.
I'm hungry, so I'll be eating during the podcast.
Okay. Excellent.
By the way, I think Jim might have foreshadowed this in the beginning, because the first podcast, we sort of introduced ourselves, and he mentioned that he had missed 15 PKs. He said PKs.
Yeah.
I think he was foreshadowing he was going to miss 15 podcasts. Okay? Because when he said it, he winked at me and he pointed at a calendar.
Yeah.
And I misjudged. I thought he wanted to hook up on the 10th. But point is, we should have saw this coming.
I think we should have, but hindsight is always 2015. Let's talk about soccer if we can. After an historic year for the New England Revolution, are they ascending? you weren't able to eat before the podcast.
One of the listeners said that we don't eat enough on this show. So.
One of the listeners sent you a thing and said,
Yeah.
What listener was that?
On Facebook, I can't recall her name, but so there needs to be more snacks.
More snacks. Well, it's good. So we listened to our listenership,
Yeah.
both of them. So the New England Revolution had a great year, set a record for wins in the MLS, and now they're making their off-season changes. They brought in former MLS Defender of the Year, Omar Gonzalez, won a title with the Los Angeles Arena with Bruce Arena in Los Angeles a few years ago. He's a member of the national team, and also they picked up Sebastian Leggett, also on the national team. Really good player.
How many times have you watched him?
Leggett?
Yeah.
Never. Or let's put it this way: if I watched him, I sure don't
Didn't
remember.
know you were watching.
I read it after you told me. So, how are they? Here's my question: when I first saw it, I said, "Oh, this is good. They're adding some talent that Arena had before." And I think in this town, obviously, you look at what one team does and you compare them to what's happened before. Arena, Bill Belichick, you can see the similarities. They look a little bit alike. They have a similar demeanor. Arena's had a fantastic track record. Obviously, Belichick's had a fantastic track record. Are they getting better, or are they just shuffling bodies? Is this part of Arena rebuilding of the Revolution, or is this just moving bodies around?
Well, first of all, they lost Tejan Buchanan, who scored a lot of goals, a really up-and-coming player.
Yep.
So obviously they had to go out and get some people and bring them in.
Yep.
They don't play the same position as him. Leggett probably play on the outside and pretty effective.
Okay.
So, I mean, I like Leggett. Funny you mentioned Belichick, because I feel like those are two guys that seem to play better under him than under other people.
Yep.
How many times does Belichick bring like a Van Noy back and you're like, this guy stunk the last 2 years, now he's doing stuff again.
Right. And he did it, and Belichick did it with Mark Bavaro when he was in Cleveland. Bavaro had a lot of success with the Giants. He brought him in when he started, and I think so. The question is, does he bring in one of his guys to get everyone to buy into his philosophy? and because he can still play, or are they just doing it out of a misplay, or is he doing it because the guy still's got something in the tank and he thinks he can get it out of him?
So first of all, for Leggett, I think that, like I said, I think he plays really well under him. I thought he was fantastic 4 or 5 years ago, and then the last few years I haven't really been
But they're both on the national team, right?
I don't think Omar's not on the national team.
Okay, Omar was.
Omar's still good. He played for Toronto this past year. But I feel like they got him because, they're in the Champions League now, the CONCACAF Champions League.
The CONCACAF League, yep.
And, when you're before a show, you're out in the parking lot and you're crying, and I have to bring you in and say it's going to be okay.
Because I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's horrible.
You're probably still going to eat it, but we're going to get paid. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, okay.
Well, you're going into these stadiums in Mexico.
Yep.
I think it's a little scary.
Okay.
He played in that league for 5 years.
Yep.
So I would absolutely bring in anyone who's played in that league. He has, and he's good.
Mm-hmm.
So that you have someone that sort of go to battle with and tell them, guys, it's going to be fine. You're going to get hit in the head with stuff, but I've been here before. We're going to get out of here with our lives.
Fine. Batteries don't hurt.
He played for Pachuca for 4 years.
Okay. Is he going to translate for him too? Is he going to say?
Probably.
What they're saying is they're very, very happy to see you, and they hope you have a wonderful game. All right. So you think? Let me ask you this. So you think he's got value at CONCACAF?
Yeah, even if he doesn't play, I think Kessler and Farrell don't get hurt very often. But when so I wasn't sure if Farrell was ever going to get up in that NYC playoff game. He was down for about 8 minutes.
Yeah.
I remember looking at my son and saying, "Wait a minute, who's even the backup on?" Because they hardly ever play.
Right.
So now at least you have a backup who can play.
So the idea is he's going to play a limited role, but he's going to be a good team guy.
Yeah, I would imagine. But then again, maybe they're not done. Maybe they trade Farrell and bring in. I don't think they should be done because I think they've shown that they're one of the best teams in the MLS. But in that CONCACAF, I would keep adding pieces. I think Tommy McNamara, for example, looked really slow in that NYC game, and the Mexican games are going to be much quicker. He's not going to fit. On
the subject of me crying before gigs, you had this idea, which is comedy sports fundraisers that we've done as stand-up comedians that we're going to say good and bad.
They're usually good.
I know they're usually good. I don't have any story. It's funny. I've thought about this, and one of the things that I firmly believe as somebody who sets up comedy shows and produces comedy shows is that there are two shows. There's the show that the audience sees and the show that we see.
Yes.
Absolutely. For example, Paul, I had one show where I remember I was in Hampton, New Hampshire, and I had a male and a female comedian, and the male had to leave to go to a soccer game. And the female wanted to go boy, girl, boy.
In the order?
In the order. Okay. In the order. I remember going out to start the show and saying to them, first I told them, because you would think that being the person who was the boss, that I would have a little bit of sway, and but they were comedians. Sway? They were comedians.
I'm the guy with the soccer game. I assume.
You're the guy with the soccer game. You don't remember this?
I didn't give you sway. I always give you sway.
Huh? Well, this time I think maybe what it was. Maybe I agreed with you. Maybe I agreed with you because she didn't have to go anywhere. She's a very strong comedian. It was you and her, and I basically I tried to work it out with you, but she was not. She was unyielding.
So and strong physically and strong on stage, or just strong physically?
She probably could take you. I don't know if that makes...
about whether she can take you, because
she could definitely take me. She could definitely take me. But the point of the matter is, she didn't want to go out. She had just dug in her heels, and I think I went out to start the show, and I just said, whoever's standing on the side, I'll introduce. And so I went out, and I just did my set, and about 25 minutes in, I looked over, and there she was, and you were late for your soccer game that day.
I lost the argument.
You don't remember that? Woman. You don't remember this one?
Now I sort of do, yeah.
Yeah, so, and the show was fine, and boy, girl, boy worked fine, and boy, girl would have worked fine too. But it had dealt with, I think, the insecurity of comedians, and also the, what's the word when somebody's prima donna.
Some people don't like to follow other people, but they don't want to admit that.
Right.
Whereas I have no problem saying I'd rather go first because I'd rather have the best set I can have. Not that I don't think I can follow that person, but it's certainly going to be harder.
Right.
No question about it. Like going after Dane Cook does 10 minutes is